I am 89 years old. If this house caught fire right now, I wouldn't grab my expensive jewelry. I wouldn't even grab the photo albums of my late husband. The very first thing I would save is this scruffy, 10-year-old rescue dog sleeping on my feet. Because the absolute truth is, I don't know where I would be without him. Actually, I do know. I would be dead. Society looks at an 89-year-old woman adopting a senior dog, and they call it a liability. In America, we are obsessed with risk management. My children told me, "Mum, what if he trips you? What if you fall? What if you have to go to the hospital? Who will take care of him?" They saw this beautiful animal as a dangerous complication to my incredibly fragile life. But what if I told you that the safe, perfectly risk-free life my children wanted for me was actually a slow, silent death sentence? What if the absolute worst thing you can do when you get old is to remove every single burden and responsibility from your shoulders? I am speaking to you right now. If you are sitting in a quiet house, feeling entirely invisible to the fast-moving world outside your window. We are told that the ultimate reward of a long life is rest, but rest, without a purpose, is just waiting for the end. 3 years ago, before Barnaby, I was fading away into the wallpaper of my own home. Today, I am going to tell you the profound, hidden truth about aging alone, and why this dog is not just my pet. He is my anchor to the human race. Give me a few minutes, and I promise to completely change how you look at your own life, your own loneliness, and the magnificent power of being needed. Let me take you back to the year before Barnaby came into my life. My husband had passed away. My children lived 3 states over, drowning in their own careers and teenage kids. I lived in this beautiful, paid-off house, and the silence was so heavy it felt hard to breathe. No one tells you about the physical pain of not being touched. For months at a time, the only human contact I had was the cold stethoscope of a doctor on my chest, or the cashier handing me my receipt at the grocery store. I would sit by this very window for hours, just watching the mailman walk up the driveway, desperate to simply see another living, breathing creature. I was a ghost, haunting my own life. Every Sunday at 4 p.m., my son would call. It was a 15-minute conversation. He would ask about my blood pressure, the weather, and if the gutters were cleaned. I could hear him typing on his keyboard in the background. It wasn't a conversation, it was a wellness check. He loved me, but I was an item on his to-do list. That is the American tragedy of aging. We become tasks to be managed. You sit in your chair, feeling utterly useless, waiting for a phone call to validate your existence. You realize your children are running a race you can no longer keep up with. I was dying of family distance and complete irrelevance. And then, I walked into a local animal shelter and made the greatest, most rebellious decision of my old age. I brought Barnaby home. My daughter called me, absolutely frantic. She said, "Mum, you are 86. You shouldn't be taking care of anyone else. You should be resting. We want you to be safe." I looked at Barnaby, who was resting his chin on my knee, looking at me like I was the center of the entire universe. I told my daughter, "Safety is an illusion. I don't want to be safe. I want to be necessary." You see, Barnaby doesn't care what I used to do for a living. He doesn't care that my knees ache, or that I have wrinkles, or that society thinks I am obsolete. He wakes up every morning at 6:30 a.m., nudges my hand with a wet nose, and demands that I get out of bed. He demands that I open the door, breathe the fresh air, and face the day. We spend our whole lives trying to impress people who are incredibly conditional with their love. But this dog, He offers unconditional presence. When I am sad and crying over a memory, he doesn't try to offer me unsolicited advice. He doesn't look at his watch. He just leans his heavy body against my leg and stays there. He cured my uselessness. If I don't feed him, he goes hungry. If I don't walk him, he doesn't go out. I have a life depending on me. That is the greatest medicine on earth. He proved to me that my hands still have immense value because they are the hands that comfort him. This brings me to the absolute core of our existence. If you are watching this, whether you are in your golden years or just starting out in life, you are likely caught in the invisible, suffocating cage I call the someday trap. We all do it. We constantly tell ourselves we will finally be happy someday when the kids decide to visit, or when the house is finally quiet, or when the chronic pain in our back magically goes away. We postpone our joy, waiting for perfect conditions that simply do not exist. Let's sit down and do the brutal, undeniable math of life. I am 89 years old. Barnaby is a senior dog himself. He just turned 10. We are both standing right on the precipice, looking over the edge of the cliff. We do not have decades left in the bank. We might not have 5 years. We might not even have next week. But here is the brilliant, beautiful, heartbreaking philosophy of a rescue dog. Barnaby does not know that he is old. He has absolutely no concept of his own mortality. He carries no bitter regret about the people who abandoned him yesterday. And he suffers from zero crippling anxiety about what will happen to him tomorrow. When I manage to throw a tennis ball across the front yard, he doesn't pause to think about his arthritis or how fast he used to run as a puppy. He only knows the pure, unadulterated, sheer joy of the chase in that exact fraction of a second. That scruffy animal taught me how to actually live in the present. Listen to an old woman. Every single time you refuse to find joy in a quiet, seemingly mundane Tuesday morning, you aren't just having a boring day. You are participating in a tragedy. That specific moment dies forever. There is no magical later to make up for it. If you sit in a comfortable chair, entirely focused on the physical strength you have lost or the family that isn't calling, you are committing a profound sin against the breath that is still moving through your lungs. You are treating your magnificent, fragile life as a sterile waiting room. When I am forced to get up and walk Barnaby, I am forced to notice the vibrant colours of the changing leaves, the sharp smell of impending rain on the pavement, and the physical warmth of the sun on my wrinkled skin. He pulls me completely out of my painful memories and forces me to exist in the right now. If you trade your right now for the foolish illusion that someone else is going to magically arrive and fix your loneliness, you are making the absolute worst bet in the history of gambling. I want you to look at me right now. Really look at me. I am not just a frail, 89-year-old woman sitting on a porch, quietly waiting for the clock to run out. I am not a victim of my age, and I am certainly not a forgotten artifact collecting dust in an empty house. I am a caregiver. I am the absolute centre of this scruffy dog's entire universe. When I wake up and my joints ache and my mind tries to pull me down into the dark, familiar hole of grief, Barnaby looks at me with those big, trusting brown eyes, and he demands that I stand up. He reminds me that my hands, these wrinkled, shaking hands, still possess the magnificent power to comfort, to feed, and to protect. Because of him, my world is no longer confined to the 4 walls of my living room or the painful memories of my past. My world is vast, it is breathing, and it is full of immediate, undeniable meaning. And now, my friend, I am turning to you. I am looking right through this screen, directly into your living room, your car, or wherever you are hiding right now. I am giving you a challenge. This is your 10-minute mission to completely redeem the rest of your life. Consider this highly actionable advice from a woman who has survived the darkest valleys of isolation and has absolutely nothing left to prove to this world. As soon as this video ends, I forbid you from sitting in silence and feeling sorry for yourself. I forbid you from scrolling to the next video to temporarily numb your brain. Self-pity is the most dangerous, addictive drug in the American society, and it will quietly steal the remaining years of your life. If you are lonely, if you are feeling invisible, you must stop waiting to be rescued. You must find a way to be needed. I am not saying that everyone watching this needs to go out and adopt a senior dog. I know that isn't practical for everyone, but you absolutely must find something outside of yourself to care for. The human soul rots when it only has itself to think about. Go out to your backyard, plant a garden, get your hands dirty in the soil, and fight to keep those plants alive. Rescue an old, unwanted cat that society has given up on. Go into your kitchen, bake a warm loaf of bread, walk across the street, and hand it to the neighbor who just lost her husband and hasn't eaten a real meal in days. Mentor a young person who is terrified of the future and desperately needs the quiet wisdom that only you possess. Stop sitting by the window waiting for the busy world to come to you. Open your front door, step outside, and go offer your hands to the world. We are brainwashed in this country to believe that we must earn our dignity through a corporate paycheck, a fancy job title, or how much money we leave in our will. That is a lie. You are completely enough right now, exactly as you are. But your soul desperately requires you to act. Stop waiting for a devastating health scare or a tragedy to finally wake you up. Stop placing the impossible burden of your happiness on the shoulders of your exhausted, busy children. They cannot cure your isolation. Only you can do that. You take your ultimate independence back, not by building thicker walls around your house, but by actively choosing to love and care for something that is right in front of you. I want you to take a deep breath, and I want you to engrave this final thought into your mind. Write it down on a piece of paper. Tape it to your bathroom mirror, so it is the very first thing you see when you wake up tomorrow morning. This is the only absolute, undeniable truth that matters when you finally reach the end of the road. If these words from an 89-year-old woman woke something up inside you today, if you felt a sudden tightness in your chest because you know deep down that you have been hiding from life, please do not just keep this revelation to yourself. The world is full of people who are starving for connection. Share this video with someone who is aging alone. Send it to someone who is drowning in the deafening silence of an empty house and desperately needs permission to step out of the shadows and find their purpose again. And I want you to leave a testament down in the comments below. Let's make this a place of actual connection. Tell me, has an animal ever saved your life? What is the one thing you are going to take care of tomorrow morning to prove that you are still alive? Let's build a real, breathing community of people who refuse to just fade away silently in the dark. My name is Ruth. At 86 years old, I was a ghost haunting my own house, just waiting to die. Today, at 89, thanks to this scruffy little rescue dog sleeping on my feet, I have never been more fiercely, intensely alive. Thank you for giving an old woman your most precious commodity, your time. Now, go live